So this is the future of mankind. You can give one treatment, one dose, one shot, and the person is cured. My working in cancer and in healthcare, when very early on, when I was in my very early career, training at Harvard Medical School, I came across some very tragic patients, children, especially children. And to see them suffering really disturbed me deeply, really disturbed me psychologically. I couldn't find why, if there is a God, these children are going through that. Some of them knew that they won't survive.
Some invent treatments, some fight for access to those treatments. Dr. Verma does both with scalpel on one hand and strategy on the other. From the portals of Harvard to biotech boardrooms, from pioneering CAR T-cell therapies to pushing boundaries on affordability, Dr. Bikash Verma is not just treating cancer, he is indeed changing the way the world delivers hope. Armed with 2 degrees in human medicine and veterinary medicine, Dr. Verma is a part scientist, part strategist, part businessman, part entrepreneur, a great doctor, and above all, a wonderful human being. With over 25 clinical trials related to FDA under his belt and a global mission to make $1 million cancer therapies accessible to every cancer patient, Dr. Verma is turning miracle cure into everyday medicine. He is also the CEO and founder of MedTherapy Biotech. Born in Harvard, built in Boston, scaling in New Delhi to the world, where cutting edge cancer treatment does not come with crushing costs. Here today in Light to Lighten, we are here to decode the man, the mission, and the medicine. It is such a pleasure and it's an honor to have you on my podcast. And I'm kind of curious to know what was it like before you became Dr. Bikash Verma, that young, curious mind, if you can relate your journey back then.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this podcast. This podcast is going to inspire many, many minds around the world. So thank you for that. And also for giving me the opportunity to talk about how we at MedTherapy are trying to make the $1 million cancer gene therapy more affordable for every eligible cancer patient in the world, from Boston to Botswana and from Harvard to India and all over the world. So thank you for that. So that will take to my early childhood. And it has been quite an interesting journey with ups and downs. And as far as it relates to the entrepreneurship, I think it came early on when I started observing my grandparents. My grandparents were very socially conscious, very charitable. And whatever limited means they had, they were always thinking about other people. So as a young child, you observe that. They were not telling me, they were not lecturing me, but you observe that. And at subconscious level, it starts growing inside you. And so that's how my journey of entrepreneurship began. So as you know, I was born in India and had my first medical degree, which was as a veterinarian, which you mentioned.
Right.
I was very happy treating animals. But then I also had the desire to come to U.S., which, as you know, for cancer research, this is the capital of the world. So I did my initial medical education in India, all over India, from Chennai to Punjab to Patna and Delhi. So then I came to U.S. and I was very lucky to end up at Harvard Medical School, where my further advanced training began. So that's in brief is my journey from a small place in India to Harvard.
And tremendous amount of learning. And of course, you went to the Mecca of education, Harvard. Was there a moment in your life when you realized that learning alone was not enough, but you wanted to create? What was that moment like?
What an insightful question. And your line of thinking tells me that this podcast, Light to Lighten, is going to enlighten many minds in the world.
Thank you.
I thank you for that question. There was a escalating, growing tendency to think about what more can I do beyond myself. I had done good for my career, and I was always thinking, especially coming from India, a developing country, what more can I do beyond myself for other people? So when I finally reached the Harvard, my own life and career was done, and that started stimulating. Is it just about myself, or am I supposed to or capable of helping other people? So Harvard, in more ways than one, was the turning point in my life when I started, which motivated me to start thinking about what can we do for other people to the extent that I can.
Wonderful. You've always had this charitable bent of mind. But then, in every journey, there are struggles, there are, situations when you stop and look at, okay, am I going in the right direction? So, what were those struggles like? Was there a moment where you had that personal struggle or the professional struggle? Can you throw some light on that?
Thank you for that. And I hope your question itself brings a dose of reality to other people in the world among your global audience for this podcast to ponder over this question, because there can't be such a journey without many, many struggles on the way. So thank you for that question. Of course, I have had, to be very candid, I have had many, many challenges on the way. But since I had the firm belief that this is not an option or this is not an entrepreneurship, this is my goal in life, this is my mission, I have to do it. So a lot of them I was able to endure by my willpower, but nonetheless, there have been some challenges which can destroy a person. For example, financial. I took a plunge. I was without a salary for many years. So, as a middle class person with a family to take care of, if you are without a salary, it can bring you down to your knees. So, yes, it was very painful to go through those years, that experience, but what sustained me was my faith, and hopefully I'll get a chance to talk about that also.
Awesome. So these challenges did not shake your belief and you stuck to it.
What cannot destroy you can only make you stronger.
Wonderful. In your entrepreneurial journey, uh, was there any moment where your logical part of it said stop, but your emotional part of it said keep going? Was there a conflict like that anytime in building med therapy?
Absolutely, absolutely. I had read many stories about many people, many successful entrepreneurs, where it appeared as if it was hard work, but pretty straightforward, no pitfalls. It wasn't in my case, and I suspect it will not be in many other entrepreneurs' case. There are many ups and downs. So yes, it did come up a few times in my life, in my trajectory. Working on cancer gene therapy is, can I even move forward? But my faith kept me going on. At a human level, I was in very difficult times, but my faith kept on sustaining me. So, yes, there were quite a few moments where it was trying whether I can. Your brain said you have to stop, and your heart says you must go on.
Awesome. In starting med therapy, you must have faced several challenges. And as you rightly said, capital and resources are one of the biggest challenges.
Right.
What was it like coming from a academic background, from a medical background, and the kind of innovations that you have come up with to offer to this world has been so humongous? Someone like you really did not have a need to become an entrepreneur and go through all that adventure.
Right.
And every entrepreneur needs two things, right? They need capital and they
Yeah.
need customers. But you took that plunge. So how do you see that journey in terms of risk, opportunity, apprehension, uncertainty? How do you deal with that?
To be very candid, it's not easy. Certainly was not for me. For some people, it may appear to have been a very straightforward path. For me, some of what I thought were my strength itself became a challenge. For example, as you mentioned, I come from a medical background as a physician and as a scientist. Those two professions are highly structured, highly structured. There's no room for deviation. You cannot just choose to do what you want to do. You have to follow what your medical guidelines are. Whereas in entrepreneurship, you always have to be innovating yourself. You always have to face new challenges, for there is no prescription how to resolve that. So, what was my strength coming from a medical background was also a challenge to overcome that mindset, to have a very rigid way of thinking. Whereas in entrepreneurship, you have a structure, you have a process, but you always have to keep a very open mind to new ideas, new people, new strategies. So it was a struggle at many, many times.
So did you come across any moment where you wanted to stop building med therapy and just get back to the corporate world or get back to Harvard?
I was prepared for that. I was prepared for that. I had given myself finite time within which I have to prove this company to be successful. And the test for that was whether the cancer gene therapy is or can be made affordable and accessible for all cancer patients in the world. But I had given myself certain time limit within which we had to do this. So yes, there were a few times where it looked like I and us, our team, will not be able to meet the objectives. And it felt as if we had no other option but to shut down. But emotionally and spiritually, I never gave up. I never gave up. I said, I will, as long as I'm breathing and as long as I'm not jeopardizing the interest of my family, my wife and children, I will keep going on.
That's really wonderful to hear. In the complex world of innovation, especially in biotech,
Right.
it can mean life or death.
Yes.
So, how do you balance between the challenge of delivering the solution and actually balancing the social impact part of it?
Right. Again, thank you so much for that very, very touching question. So, is it okay if I talk a little bit about the therapy so people
Absolutely.
understand the context?
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
So, what we are talking about and what the opportunity Lighten has provided us, there is a treatment called gene therapy, and that's what we are working on, cancer gene therapy. And for the sake of our global audience, you have a very enlightened audience, I must say. For the sake of our audience, gene therapy, principally and in very simple words, means curing a disease, not just treating a disease, not just controlling a disease or managing a disease, but curing it. So, this is the future of mankind. You can give one treatment, one dose, one shot, and the person is cured. And of all those, to do this in the field of cancer, which is the most complex of conditions and diseases, is very, very difficult. So, this is what we are trying to do, make this very complex cancer gene therapy more affordable and accessible. So, that's what med therapy is all about. Now, coming to answer your question, how do you balance the science and the strategy? On one end, you are thinking all about your patients and how do I help my cancer patients. On the other hand, you have to think about how do you pay the bills to keep the company alive. So the way I have tried to do, there's no prescription for this. It varies from one situation to another. Is you almost have to compartmentalize your brain and your thought process. On one side, you're thinking in medical terms. How do I make my treatment more innovative? How do I make it less costly? How do I make it more accessible? And on the other side of the brain, you're thinking about how do I keep the business alive? How do I sustain it? What are the strategies? What are the risk management? So you're almost having two different compartments in your brain equally functioning and equally firing.
In the healthcare domain, gene therapy is the buzzword. And Dr. Verma, you are the man behind gene therapy. What's your vision for mankind and what's your vision for India, where you come from?
The most question of our podcast today. So, two things. One is, as I mentioned earlier, gene therapy is the future of mankind. Today, when we are treating a patients for example, let's take blood pressure. A patient is diagnosed and you have to treat the patient for the rest of their life. Whereas in gene therapy, you can treat one time, repair the gene, and the patient is treated for the rest of their lives. So we have to acknowledge the promises that this is going to be the future of mankind. So, what is my vision about this? As you all know, all good things come at a price, and gene therapy comes at a pretty hefty price $1 million, millions of dollars, 2 million, 3 million. So, what good is it that you have a cure for cancer, you have cure for blindness, you have cure for genetic diseases, but no one in the world can afford it? What's the point? So, our mission is how to make this more affordable for all patients, everyone in the world. Now, for a small organization like Med Therapy and one person like me, that's impossible to be done. So, the way we are thinking we will be able to do is bring more like minded people, such as yourself. You're such a kind hearted entrepreneur yourself. So, we are trying to bring more people into the fold. And then, lastly, the business model is how to make U.S. bring the resources of United States with the manpower, technical manpower of India together. And once you have combined the technological advancement, which we have in U.S., and with the combining it with the technical scientific manpower in India, which is the largest technical manpower on the planet, you combine the two, we have a solution that we can make these therapies more affordable for all patients in the world.
Entrepreneurship starts with ambition. And somewhere down the line, impact becomes so critical.
Right.
Right? So, from your standpoint, how did your why evolve over a period of time?
Yeah. Yes, for me, that was a critical factor. At some point in my life, I did start asking the question, what next? So in my academic career, in my medical career, I had, done what I was happy with it, sufficient. Coming from a small place in India and now ended up at Harvard and working with great minds, I was happy and done with my career. And then you start questioning, is that all? Was it just about me and my career, or is there something more? So yes, I think the future should be, for me and for other people, what is in the interest of the greater good for the larger humanity. And that's what we are trying to do in a small way, and you are contributing to that. And our wonderful global audience is also contributing to that.
Thank you for being so kind. I think the kind of work you're doing is so impactful, and I can't wait to see the gene therapy treatment being meted out to millions and millions of people across the globe.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And you work in global health initiatives. Obviously, is also looking at what profits you can make. It's a commercial enterprise.
Right.
It's not a non-profit.
Yes.
At the same time, the social impact and the social cause sometimes supersedes this commercial,
Right.
terrain. And where do you see this going? What's your advice to healthcare entrepreneurs, particularly, and how do they balance between these two?
Yeah. It can be done, and it has to be done. So, first, this must be done. And second, yes, it can be done, even though it looks mutually exclusive or competing with each other. Just to further reiterate your question, if I understand it correctly, how do you balance the commercial interest of of the company with the very charitable, philanthropic mission of the organization, which is serving your cancer patients or patients? So it's doable, but it's not very simple, and there's no simplistic reductionist attitude or formula which will help you. But if you are cognizant of it, that both needs to be accomplished. You can't have one without the other. So if you are cognizant of it, that I have to accomplish both, it can be done. And the way we have been able to do at Med Therapy is by bringing a lot of people who are experts in both areas, the commercial experts, strategy, and so on and so forth, and the medical side of people. And then you make them work together, and it can be done. In terms of the advice for other entrepreneurs, especially in health sector or medical sector, I don't think so. I'm in a capacity to give any advice to anyone. It's everyone has their own journey. But certainly, one thing I will advise is for all entrepreneurs, in fact, not just those in healthcare. We all hear about what entrepreneurs should do or should be doing or aiming for, but rarely you hear about what they should not be doing or thinking about. And I'll mention two things which might help at least some people. One is entrepreneurship is not about oneself. So the first thing entrepreneurs needs to give up is their ego. That is what destroys many entrepreneurs because their ego overtakes their mission. So certainly I will advise with all sincerity that you have to give away your ego and be prepared to compromise your ego many, many times. You don't have to compromise your self-respect, but certainly your ego has to go. And the other one is entrepreneurship is not about just money. Often it's believed, and the portrayal of an entrepreneur is X, Y, and Z did this and that and made a lot of money and lived happily ever after. That's a byproduct. So my advice to my fellow entrepreneurs and the young minds, and I know you have a global audience, would be to treat the financial side as a byproduct, not the objective. Otherwise, it will destroy people. So that will be my modest recommendation to the young minds and listeners.
Thank you for sharing that. In fact, I'm myself learning so much from all your insights and
Thank you.
inputs. Is there one myth about entrepreneurship that you would like to bust in this podcast?
Yes, on my journey and our journey, we saw many of these myths shattered. I will, if you allow me, I will share two. But the first one would
Absolutely.
be, the first one is often the limelight is upon the entrepreneurs. It's just me, or he or she, but what the myth is, it's never one person who accomplished something exceptional. There are many, many people behind the scene who either don't want to be in the limelight or they are overlooked. So the myth is one man did something exceptional. By man, I mean man or woman. It's never the case. It's always a team, and there are a lot of people involved. That's one myth people need to get over. And likewise, since you allowed me, I will quickly add. The second one is never think, no entrepreneur should think that it's me or because of me or I can do it. Always, always, always build a wonderful world-class team, and it's the team which will make or break your mission.
If the young, uncertain, curious mind was sitting here, what would you say to your younger self today?
For all our global audience of this wonderful podcast, Lighten, a few things. One, there is not one single formula which is applicable to all, so each person has to decide their own journey. Number two, I think everyone should give it a shot. We live in a world, first we have to comply with our bread and butter and job and take care of oneself and the family. So we must do that first. But we should give it a try. Everyone has some talent. They never had a chance to express themselves. So people should think about it. But should be very realistic. You should have a passion for this, but not an obsession for that. Passion is good, obsession is not. So those will be some of the things I will share with our young minds, the listeners of this great podcast, this global podcast, that give it a chance. And if you are unsure, make a team instead of solely relying upon oneself or yourself. If you have a team of people and they honestly undertake a risk analysis or a plan B or a plan C or a plan D, then it becomes worthwhile. It's less scary, and I hope people give it a shot.
What a great message. Passion is important, but obsession, you shouldn't be so obsessed. Do it with passion, but don't be too attached. It's a great message to share. So, Doctor, we have now come to our final round, which is a rapid fire round.
Okay,
Are you prepared for it?
I am.
Yeah, wonderful. Doctor, we have now come to a point on this podcast, and this is my favorite section as well, the rapid fire round. And you have 5 seconds to answer each question. And there's no award for it, but I'm sure our audience will love it.
Thank you.
Are you ready for it?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, great. One word that captures your journey so far.
Serving humanity.
Serving humanity. Wow, what a brilliant thought that is, and I wish everyone thought the same way. First scientific experiment you ever conducted.
My earliest,
Yes.
that was when I was 20 years old.
Wow, you're a scientist at 20.
Yes, we had to do experiments while I was going through my medical training.
No wonder you're curing cancer for millions of people now.
Thank you.
Amazing. Yeah. A mentor who profoundly influenced you.
Well, I have to say my parents first, but many others. Many mentors I have, and I owe my journey to them, many of them.
Absolutely. Most challenging decision you have ever faced in your life.
Professionally or personally, or
Your choice.
probably this journey on med therapy. I quit my job without a salary and had to survive for a couple of years. It was quite challenging.
Oh, that was a great challenge, and thank you for accepting the challenge, doctor. Because of you, millions of people can hope to cure themselves of leukemia to start with, supported by med therapy, and we are so thankful to you.
You're welcome.
A book or resource that has significantly shaped your thinking.
It's called Bhagavad Gita.
Wow.
It doesn't need any introduction. I have enormous interest in literature and history. I've read world history and every major classic. Nothing like it. Bhagavad Gita.
Your favorite aspect of leading a biotech company.
Meeting exceptionally nice people every day. I'm sitting here in the studio with two of the greatest minds. So that has been a blessing and a pleasure to meet a lot of exceptionally nice people.
Yeah. We spoke about how conflicted biotech world is. And
Yes.
It's literally between life and death.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to see someone like you looking at the positive side of it. And that's a huge takeaway for our audience as well.
Thank you.
Can you share a couple of fun facts about yourself? Something crazy that you did in your life? Or were you always a serious doctor, learning and creating and building?
If you talk to my two daughters, they will say there is nothing fun side to my personality. Probably they are right. I have some hobbies.
Okay.
Occasionally I cook for my family members.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I play drums.
You play drums, wow.
I play drums of all
that's
kinds.
Surprise.
All
Yeah.
kind of drums. A little bit I have delved into music. I like food from all over the world. probably that will be the end of it. As far as the fun side of me is concerned, I love animals, of course, because I'm also a veterinarian. So I have great passion for animals, dogs and cats. If I see them, I have to pick them up. Those are some of the lighter sides of my journey.
So we can look forward to being invited for lunch or dinner at your
By any
place.
time, by any any time, any time.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. A habit or routine that keeps you grounded. We know you're such a global personality, so well known in the medical field and in the industry. You made a huge impact. So, what is that one or two things that keeps you grounded? You're so modest.
I, I don't know how modest I am.
That's modesty.
Being grounded, I think if you're serious about your mission, it will automatically inculcate a sense of being very disciplined.
Right.
You can't have both. You can't have a lackadaisical attitude towards life and you want to
True.
also bring meaningful output from your life. So I think the discipline automatically came both consciously and subconsciously that you cannot waste away your time at all. It doesn't mean you can't have fun and you can't have time with friends and family, but time becomes very valuable and discipline becomes very valuable.
Absolutely. An innovation in healthcare that excites you the most, apart from gene therapy.
So, if you allow me, if I go back into history, it's vaccine. In the entire human history, there is no other medical innovation as powerful as vaccine. Not only because I have worked in vaccine for a good part of my medical career, because look at this. One, you give a vaccine before an infection or a disease or a condition has happened. So you're preventing. And number two, today the cost of even of the most complex vaccines is very modest.
Yeah.
A few dollars or at the most maybe even $100. If you invest $100 in one person, and the person will never get that infection in the rest of their life. So otherwise you would have had to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars to treat that infection. So cost-wise and the impact that vaccine has had on human history, no medical invention comes anywhere close to that. Dollar for dollar, person for person, and today we have immunized few billion people in the world.
Great. That brings us to the end of our rapid fire round. And doctor, if there was an award, you would have surely won.
That will be.
We'll ship you an award for that.
We'll share that. We'll share that. And I have to say, this has been what a wonderful opportunity to be at this global podcast, Lighten. And I'm delighted to be here because I know in the days to come, this podcast will enlighten millions of minds around the world. And to be a part of this is a pleasure. Thank you so much for allowing me here.
Thank you, doctor. I just have one last question before I let you go. Beyond all your medical, academic, music, cooking interests, etc., I know there's also a spiritual side to
Yeah.
it. And you have done enormous research on temples across the globe. And I wanted our audience to hear from you what's your experience with that kind of research. And this is something, you're the first person I'm meeting in my career that who's done so much of research on temples.
So, as you know, I'm a physician, veterinarian, but more so a scientist. So anything you become passionate about, you want to have logical and data to study about it further. So it was very natural once I become involved in something, I started looking for the data. Is it true? How true? How far back? So before I answer your question, the way I got involved in the spiritual side of things or historical side of things was my working in cancer and in healthcare. When very early on, when I was in my very early career, training at Harvard Medical School, I came across some very tragic patients, children, especially children. And to see them suffering really disturbed me deeply, really disturbed me psychologically. I couldn't find why, if there is a God, these children are going through that. Some of them knew that they won't survive. So that started leading me to reading history over a period of time, how people dealt with this question hundreds and thousands of millennium back. And that led me to read the very ancient scriptures, and some of the most ancient scriptures in the world are from India. So I started reading Indian scriptures and all, and at some point in the history of India, people started building temples. Prior to that, prayers were entirely confined to one's home and personal life. There was no community level temple.
Right.
At some point, they started building temples and people started coming together to pray that. And I researched and I went back to see when was the earliest temple constructed, where, what were the reasons for that, and so on and so forth. I'm glad you still remember that.
Oh, absolutely. And thanks for sharing that with our audience as well.
Yes.
And Doctor, it was such a honor and pleasure to be in conversation with you. And we would like to have you back. We really wish you all the very best. And from our entire podcast team, from Light to Lighten team, wishing Med Therapy all success. And we want to see this company as a next unicorn in the healthcare industry.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything you're doing.
Thank you so much. And from my side, and also on behalf of our global team at Med Therapy Biotechnology, I want to thank Light to Lighten. It gave us an opportunity to talk about our mission, and we wish this podcast wonderful success.
Thank you, Doctor.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.
This was Light to Lighten. Every spark you carry has the power to light others. Until we meet again, keep shining, keep building. Goodbye.